Okay, I'm getting started now. I am waiting for Georgina to come on, and I'm really excited to have this conversation, though. I have to say that Georgina has, I've been following her almost since I first started on Instagram, and I just think she's really amazing. I'm just so impressed by, her the progress that she has made. And here she is. So let me put her on. Here's everybody. Okay. Hi, Georgina. Are you on?
Am I connected? Oh, yay.
All right. Hey.
Hello.
Hi. I'm so glad I get to talk to you in real life.
Ooh, sorry.
We're
waiting for the internet.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to adjust the camera a little bit?
Now.
Your head is getting cut off. Yeah, there you go. That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
So, hi.
It looks
how are
different
you?
from my. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So I'm so glad you're able to come on and talk to me. This is really exciting. Is this your first Instagram Live?
This is the first time I've ever been live, ever.
Okay. Well, no worries. This is my second one, and I'm still learning too. So please, for everyone who's watching, please forgive me if I make some mistakes here. So let's dive right in because we have a couple of people watching, and I want to make sure that everyone's getting value.
Okay.
But I do want to say before we get started, hi. Wow, there are a lot of people here. Weight Watcher Gone Keto. I'm so excited you're here. We're big fans. And Sis the Seeker. Let's see, Paleo Keto. Hey, a keto girl. Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Fasting Carnivore. Yay, so great to see you. And everyone else. I'm really excited you're here. So let's dive right in. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Your journey. How did you get to where you are? I mean, you had quite a lot of success. How did you come to be your highest weight, and how did you turn around?
Wow. Okay. Well, so first, I'm Georgina. And
I'm A-Day. I'm not sure I actually introduced myself.
So I have been overweight my entire life. Like, there was never a time that I was healthy. I was never in sports or anything like that. So I moved out of my parents' house, and when I was like an adult in college and kind of in charge of my own finances, I ate whatever I wanted. And by my like sophomore year in undergrad, I was like really pinching pennies, and like my roommate and I would be like, okay, who can go to the grocery store and spend like only $10, or like only $20, like feed ourselves. And so we were just eating like a bunch of like frozen burritos and random things that were not good. And then I got married, and it was like just always.
Wait, I hate to interrupt you, but I need to understand, how do you feed yourself for $10? Was that for a day or for a week?
No, for like a whole week. It's more like 20. 20 is as good as I got.
Okay, that's still pretty spectacular.
Yeah, so I mean, you go to Walmart and you just buy a bunch of frozen food and like only eat frozen food and tortillas, and it just not good. With carbs. You feed yourself with $20 with carbs. That's the easiest way. So when I got married, my husband and I just ate out all the time. And there were some days where I never ate anything homemade. Like, I would just eat out all day, every day, and just eating fast food. I had like a Chick-fil-A a couple blocks from my house. That was dangerous. We had a Domino's, again, like couple blocks right next to the Chick-fil-A, and they knew our address. Like, it was like they were coming every day, every 2 or 3 days, like, and it just got bad. So eventually I was 425 pounds, and so my husband has gone up and down weight for several years, and he had low carbs, and like he knew stuff. And I mentioned to you before, like my mom was a nurse, so low carb never made sense to me. I was like, why are you eating beef? Like, red meat is bad for you. Why are you eating cheese? Butter is the worst. Don't you ever do that. And he was like, no, low carbing is fine. And so I had already known that that was a thing that he had talked about. So I like Googled, you know, low carb diets, because we had tried some before, but they never worked. And then I found keto, and I was like, Landon, we should try keto. And he's like, that's basically what I do. And I was like, no, it's not. It's different. And so we hopped on the keto train. We bought a scale.
When was that?
This was August of 2018.
Okay.
So we found keto on Google. I don't even remember what article I read. I have no idea, but I found it. And then I ordered a scale from Amazon. It came in April 17th. And that was just when we started. So.
Wow. So this has been like a 1.5 year journey for you. Not even that long.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So it'll be a 1.5 years in like a week and a half or so. So.
Wow. Yeah. So tell me about the beginning. I mean, when you first got on keto, that was like quite a mental mind shift. And then, you know, sort of you're basically learning how to cook and how to provide food for yourself, because, you know, before you were being very successful at budget shopping.
Well, so some people had asked me, like I've had friends that asked me, like, how did you get started? And we actually started very, very slowly. I found keto in April, but before that, I think November of 2017, Landon and I tried to just shop more perishable and stop, you know, buying things that could stay in our house for months and months on end or years. So we started by shopping the perimeter of the grocery store, and then, you know, Thanksgiving and Christmas hit, and his mom cooks amazing food. So we kind of fell on and off of that cycle. And because he had done low carbing before, like he kind of knew some of the things to do. And I had even I had even fat fasted before keto, so I had done that as well. So it wasn't too bad getting started. Like, we were used to shopping and cooking, even though we weren't that great at doing it, you know, continuously. We knew to do it. So it wasn't too bad. It was more just like fighting the urge to not eat out all the time.
Yeah.
But cooking at home was okay, because, I mean, we knew how to cook, we just didn't. So, and learning how to prioritize food over other expenses took a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's something I didn't, you know, even really think about. Yeah, you know, when you're buying quality food and health foods, I don't know if they're necessarily more expensive, but you're putting your money in different places, and
right.
So thinking about prioritizing grocery store food over other expenses, but before you were prioritizing ordering out food, which can be just as expensive, if not more. But you're
Absolutely.
thinking about it in a different sort of way.
It was so, and I remember having like this Uber driver who was like a personal trainer on the side or something, and he was talking to me about whatever, and I was like, well, isn't it like really expensive? And he's like, oh, well, you just have to prioritize, like the same way that you spend money on Netflix and Hulu and like all these, like this super huge cable plan and all those things. Like, you just take all that money and put it towards something that's good for you. And at the time I was like, yeah, whatever, goodbye. But later I was like, oh, he's so right. You know, maybe not spending like $30, $40 at Domino's in one night and like eating all of the food in one night. Like, maybe you could just spend $30 or $40 on groceries and like, you know, feed yourself for several days. So that was kind of the biggest financial adjustment, and also just like getting everything out of the house. And now we just have like a completely keto household, and we don't let anything that's not keto inside the house. So.
Excellent. Wow. So very impressive. So your family and friends must be like over the moon. I mean, did they give you a lot of trouble in the beginning about going keto, and now how are they?
Oddly enough, no. So I'm not very close to my own family, but my husband's family specifically, they, like my mother-in-law had done low carbing. She did Atkins. She's very open to like different diets and trying different things, just because like she has different like thyroid issues or cortisol hormone stuff. And so when I mentioned keto and she looked into it, saw what it was, she was like, oh yeah, that's fine. And she's also a really big fan, I guess, of Dr. Mercola, and he does a lot of like keto research as well. And so when I was like, oh yeah, we're just going to go keto. And so I'm just letting you know now, like all holidays, just be ready for keto. And so soon after that, they were just like, yeah, okay. So, I mean, it was not a problem, surprisingly. And I was kind of worried because I was like, I mean, we like to eat. Like, this is Texas, this is South Texas. We like to eat. So kind of throwing in a wrench, like, and my family's not bad, like, but during Thanksgiving, for example, you walk into my grandparents' house and there are like 10, 15-foot tables and it's all dessert. It's all, and like half my family has diabetes and it's all dessert. And like, so it's just, I don't really talk about keto with my own family, but with my husband's family, it's just like, yeah, not a problem. Totally fine. Although some people have been like, is that okay? And then after several months, they were like, obviously it's fine. You look fine. So it's good. Yeah. So not as hard.
There are a whole bunch of people here. So I just want to say a shout out again. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a really, really great. I'd love to see, so much support and interest in this conversation. So I want to let Georgina talk a little bit more about her story. And then I think we should just, take questions from you all, because I think people are like dying to know more about your process and how you came to here. So let me ask a little bit more like technical. How did the weight loss go? How did you feel in the beginning? I mean, I know when I was switching and getting into ketosis in the beginning, it was really hard. I mean, I'd say the first month I was like white knuckling it. And I worked in an office where people were always like bringing stuff in. And I had a supervisor who like loved to get everybody's favorite donut and then bring it in, like by surprise during the week. And I was like, oh, this is my one kryptonite. It was so hard. So I just had to tell people, get back, get away. Don't even come near me. And I was very rude in the beginning, but
I just had to be really prepared because it was hard, especially for a bunch of people who ate a lot of French fries. Like it was so hard. Or like it was right after we went keto. It was a friend's birthday party and it was a pizza party and they were like, oh, everybody say what kind of pizza you want. And I was like, oh no. So like I, had my dinner beforehand, but I also took a different approach to keto than I did when I was like younger and trying to lose weight. And I told everyone. Like before, when I was younger, I would like super ashamed and I was like, oh, I'm not going to tell anybody because if they tell them, then they're going to be like looking at what I eat and being like, why are you eating that or whatever. So I told everyone like, oh no, Landon and I are doing this thing. I don't want it. And I think that helped, but it was still really hard. And the weight loss, I remember at first I got a scale that was like up to 550 pounds because I was like, I know I'm topping out. And then I didn't. But I think after a few days, I stepped on, it was 418 and I was like, okay. And then 1 week later I stepped on and it was 413. And I was like, how did I lose 5 pounds in 1 week? And I distinctly remember that 418 to 413 jump was like everything for me. And that's when I was like, I also remember maybe 2 or 3 weeks after we started keto, I was sitting in my living room with Landon and I was like, I feel really good. I feel amazing. And if this doesn't work, it only doesn't work because I did something, being younger and overweight, like a lot of times your health is in the hands of other people. Like your parents, like taking you places, or at least it was for me, I felt like, or being able to afford Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem kind of thing. But I remember I was like, if this fails, it fails because I didn't do it. There's no reason why this doesn't work because I feel awesome. And I didn't have a keto flu, but the reason why is because as I was Googling stuff about keto, I saw the stuff about exogenous ketones and the BHB and all that stuff. And so I immediately was like, we need to order this. We need to have it now. And so I was drinking electrolytes like crazy in the first few weeks. And so when people were talking about the keto flu, I was like, what is that? I feel great. I don't understand. So I
That's
mean, I'm
really
fine.
smart. So which brand did you buy? And do you remember? You just bought whatever?
Couldn't tell you. I mean, they were white bottles with like a blue stripe on the top. Because
Okay.
after the first like month, I mean, I made one order, so 30-day supply, and then after that, we never ordered it again because then at the end of that, I realized with more research, you don't need exogenous ketones. It is not a good use of your money most of the time in most situations, at least in my
But in
opinion.
that first like 2 weeks to a month, that probably really did help with the
Yeah,
transition. Because I
because
had ordered L-glutamine, and I didn't really feel like that helped me so much. But I think I was having more of an issue with salt than with the energy.
I think it was just a normal exogenous ketones plus electrolytes kind of drink powder. Then you put like one scoop in a 24-ounce thing of water. And I drank it like every morning. And then as time went on, every few days. And it also had some like keto pills as well. So I had those pills, these diet pills or something, and then like the powders. And only in the first month was I using that. I ordered it one time, and then we just never got it again. And so I think that helped because people that are eating the standard American diet or low carbing, like they don't really anticipate the huge change that your body goes through when you go to keto. And so that kind of helped because we don't really think about electrolytes in the standard American diet, but keto, like when you go through the keto flu, like that's a big part of it. So it just
That's actually really smart because I hear from people all the time, oh, I tried keto for a couple of days and then, I didn't feel good. And it's like, actually, it really does work, but you do kind of have to commit. And it sounds like if you use some of these things as a tool, you may not have to feel as bad for as long. Because I know for me, I would say it took 4 weeks before I started feeling good. And then another 2 to 4 weeks when I was like, oh, I get this now. Like, this is fantastic. But I think that I probably didn't have to do that for quite so long. And if I had just, well, I mean, when I did this, it was back in 2015. This stuff didn't even exist. So, but nowadays, that could be really helpful. So for our listeners getting started, you might want to, just look into getting one bottle of exogenous ketones and use that as a tool in the beginning.
Yeah. And I don't talk about it a lot. Like I never really mentioned it. Well, I didn't get this Instagram until I had been keto for about 4 months, but I don't really talk about it a lot because I am not a proponent of them. Like, I mean, if you use them as a tool, like it's fine. But for people who use them regularly, again, it's fine if that's their opinion. But for people who are not used to keto and are like on the outside and they're thinking, oh, you need all this, you really don't. Like your body does it naturally. It'll snap into it just fine. Like you don't need things that your body makes naturally. Same thing with like antioxidants and stuff like that. And so I try not to talk about it because I don't want non-keto people thinking that you need them. You don't, but helpful,
Yeah. Well, I think that's just the right advice. It's not something that's necessary. I obviously got there, without using any of those things. But if you feel like in the beginning you might not quite stick to it, or make it through that difficult portion, some of these things might be helpful tools. So amazing. Hey, wow, look at all these people. Good to see you. So now, how did the weight loss go? Because I know a lot of people, like, that first week you drop like 8 pounds of water, and then everyone's like, why am I not losing 8 pounds every week?
Yeah, it was annoying because I'm doing this alongside of my husband, and men just, drop weight. Like, I don't know. It was never meant to be on them. Like, it's just ridiculous. But for me, it was slower. And maybe it was because the weeks leading up to when we did do keto, we were already starting to cut down on carbs and already starting to eat more naturally. So I have actually no real idea of how high my highest weight was. It could very well be above 425, but that was the weight I was when I officially started keto. So my first week, there was not a drop in like 8 pounds. There was not like that 418 to 413, that 5 pound drop was the biggest I had. And it took a couple weeks to get there. but the 425 to 418, and then even after that, oh my gosh, it seems like every 25-ish pounds, my body just decides to stop. Like 425 to 400, I want to say took about like 2 months. And then trying to break through 400 took a while. And then again at 375 and again at 350. And so it was like, I would do okay. And then I would like stop. And if I've shared some screenshots of like my weight loss app, and it's just, I mean, it's rocky. It's so rocky. And that was really hard for me because I was like, I'm doing everything right. I'm not even like, I'm strict keto. And I wasn't always strict keto. And I wasn't always intermittent fasting. But especially when I started that, the ups and downs made no sense to me. And I'm a pretty logical person. So, you know, when it was going up and down, it was frustrating. But then it was like, okay, I need to add fasting. I need to actually count my carbs instead of just like doing it in my head and like, you know, do the scanning thing and do all of that. But even after that, because weight loss that's just how weight loss works. Because fat loss and weight loss are different things. And while my fat loss may have been going down, weight loss just doesn't look that linear. And so
I love that you make that distinction. That's so important. We're talking about two different things, and fat loss is a different thing.
Yeah.
So
right. And the water and the bloating and then just the being a woman, it's not fun. It was not a fun trip. So it's just. So
did you find that you gained weight, or you just like would lose and then stay the same and lose and stay the same?
Lose and stay the same. Lose and stay the same. And stay within the same 2 or 3 pounds. And so I have made it a part of my journey to not ever be off of keto. So I've never been off keto in the last year and a half. So I've never had that like regain at all. And part of that is because I'm terrified of the bloating, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like for other people, you know, they can do that. They'll bloat. And then like a week later of strict keto, it'll all come off. But knowing me, it'll just stay on. So I'm like, no, I don't cheat. So there was never like a regain, just like stagnant, just not moving.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating when you're like working hard. So
yeah. Well, I think it's really great that you identified some patterns as well, because when I was losing, I would lose like 1.6 one week and then 0, and then 1.2 and then 0, and then 1.8 and then 0, and so every other week I would lose 0 pounds. Yeah. And it got to the point, in the beginning, it was like, wait, I was so good this week. How did this happen? And then I finally just had to accept that this, for whatever reason, this is my body's pattern. And so I just had to accept that and be happy with it. And so what I did to help myself get through those tough times, because it's hard when you're only looking at the scale, I took a photograph of myself in a full-length mirror every single day. And over time, I had enough pictures of me in the same outfit that I could make a collage of me wearing the same dress over, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And so in the off week, I could compare how the dress looked that day compared to the previous week, and know that like I could see an extra wrinkle, an extra pucker, that the dress was actually getting looser, even though there was no movement on the scale. And so that was kind of what I had to do. And let's see, Weight Watcher Gone Keto said she would lose 3 pounds per month. And actually, my experience, I work with a lot of people losing weight. And I'd have to say what's normal is like 1 pound a week. So 4 to 6 pounds a month is absolutely normal and expected.
And that messed me up, because I downloaded an app and it does predictions, and it was like, you're gonna get better predictions if you weigh every day. And so I weighed every day. Like I can tell you how much I weighed August 4th of 2018 probably, and there were not very days where I skipped. So I weighed every day, and I don't know if it's necessarily because of how large I was, or maybe I don't know if keto works better than other weight loss things. I think everybody just has different tools. But I was consistently losing over 10 pounds a month. And I have like weight loss calendars that it was like 10 pounds, 11, 12, 14, 11, 12 for months. And then all of a sudden it came to a screeching halt December of 2018. And that month I lost 0 pounds. And it was like crisis.
I remember.
Really bad.
I think I was messaging you then.
Yeah, because I was like, what is happening? It was like I was fasting, I was tracking, and it was like I got a keto mojo for Christmas, and my in-laws were in town, and I was telling my mother-in-law, I was like, yo, I don't know what's happening to me. Like something is happening with my body, and I'm losing control. And one of the things that was
Keto Shaw said that's for right now.
Yeah,
so
and so I didn't know what was going on. So other diet things, I'm just like, I don't have any control of my body. It was like, I'm just getting bigger and bigger and nothing helps. But with keto, it was like, I have control until all of a sudden the month of December, I didn't have any control. And I was even checking my ketones. I was in ketosis. My blood sugar, I wake up, it's in the 80s. I step on the pound, gain 3 pounds overnight. Don't know why. Don't know what happened. I gained, and I had like my cycle that month, and in that like 4 or 5 days, gained 9 pounds. And it was like, I don't know what's happening. Like I was panicking, and it was so upsetting. And like the scale is just the worst ever. And then eventually,
the scale is a lying liar that lies.
Oh my gosh. And then it immediately, unfortunately, because of like how well I was doing with intermittent fasting, I immediately was just like, I'm going to fast. That's just the answer. Fasting is just the answer. So I'm just going to not eat for 3 days and it'll all fall out and it'll be fine. I think the first 2 weeks of January, I did an egg fast. It wasn't even 2 weeks. I did an egg fast for like 10 days because I couldn't make it 2 weeks. But for some reason, well, not for some reason, it's because of unhealthy patterns. I see the scale, I get upset, and immediately my mind goes, you should fast. You should just stop eating. And I'm just like, that's not okay. So trying to shut that off is really difficult because it just, I mean, that's just how the weight loss journey goes. Sometimes your body will do things and you just can't help it. You just have to keep going and ignore that. And it took me a long time to be okay with that.
It's important to remember that it doesn't, it's not necessarily that there's anything wrong, I mean, right. From the body's perspective, where our fat is like our gasoline, like with our car, and we've just spilled it all over the ground, and our car is like, wait, that's like $4.69 a pound. What are you doing? So,
oh gosh,
there's like a pause where, the body has to reset, and like, I think that we don't really think about, when we're very overweight and we're losing weight, we're also going from a state of being very unhealthy to being much healthier. And so there's all this healing happening, and the body's going to prioritize what it feels is the most dangerous thing, which may not be, losing the fat that we want. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes we just have to be patient, and there's nothing else to do. So tell us what happened. How did that stall break? What came next?
Gosh, I think so. I eventually just had to chill out. January.
So you just waited it out.
Yeah, like January 1st happened. I did the egg fast, lost a little bit of weight, and I was doing my regular fasting. And I played a little bit with carnivore in January. And then eventually I was just kind of like, I'm going to just calm down and eat normal and just eat basic. And I think in the month of January, I lost 12 pounds, but it was like, most of that was just bloat from the month before. So it was like, whatever. And then in February, I was doing a little bit of carnivore. And I think by February 17th, I was like, nah, I'm done. And I just started eating basic keto again. And then I was fine. I just needed to calm down. And unfortunately, I just get it in my head that I should be doing more, and then I do it, and then it doesn't work, and then I calm down, and then my body's like, okay, we've got this now. So it took a little bit to recover, but I think I was my worst enemy in that situation.
And especially when you're thinking about this as a way of life, there's no need to hurry up because this is it. This is what you're doing. So then, you can relax a little bit. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but now you've come up on, having lost what, 150 pounds now, you're so
Yeah.
far?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is such an unbelievable accomplishment. I mean, first of all, most people are not able to lose large amounts of weight, let alone
Right.
keep it off. And, the fact that you have been able to do this, that you're continuing on, and that you have found a way to eat that is, super healthy for you
Yeah.
is, I mean, round of applause.
Thank you.
Everybody, thumbs up, give us a like because this is amazing.
It almost feels unbelievable. Like, it still feels like unbelievable. And sometimes I still don't see it. Sometimes I still don't feel it. Like, especially when I'm working out, I'm like, I still feel like just very heavy. But it is a really good accomplishment. And I'm really trying to like be in that headspace where I'm like, just be proud. Like, you can't always, like, the after, sorry, takes a while. So you really got to be proud in the during as well, and
Mm-hmm.
being happy and proud and satisfied in the during is probably my biggest struggle. Thank y'all. But that's the part that's hard for me. Just being like, yeah, the weight is gone. I'm gonna fight like hell to not let it come back, and that's a good thing. I am in a good place. And sometimes I feel really good, and other times I'm just like, oh, we got so much longer to go. But
Mm-hmm.
I try to just put those thoughts elsewhere because they're
Yeah.
not helpful.
So what can you do to remind yourself where you came from rather than focusing on where you're trying to go?
Always look at pictures. I always look at old pictures and old videos. Or I just like scroll into my like old like Instagram posts, like when I first started, and I look pictures of myself and I'm like, I don't look like that anymore. Or like
Yeah.
videos of myself and I'm like, what was that? Or I have a bunch of clothes that I can't fit. I just keep them for no reason. I mean, I like the clothes, but also sometimes I just put them on and I look myself in the mirror and I'm like, you did that.
Yeah.
Like, now go take it off because you can't walk out of the house with like a sleep shirt on. But so it's I keep reminders for myself. I don't throw them
I
away.
think that is actually super, super important. And this is something that I do tell people to do as well. And the
Yeah.
scale is like the least effective measure of your progress. And
Yeah.
so, keeping some old clothes and continuing to try them on and keeping, and maybe keeping an outfit that's one or two sizes smaller than where you are so that you can watch it come up. And I would try on, various things like
Yeah.
every Saturday morning, and it would just sort of lift my spirits to see, oh, I got another millimeter up my thigh.
Yeah, exactly. Or I would buy things that I can't wear. I have things right now that I can't wear. My scale stays at the top of my very dark closet, and I just keep it up there, and I don't look at it, and I just try to remind myself in times that are really, really hard, or I
Oh, you
come
don't
on
scale,
here.
you don't weigh yourself every day anymore?
No.
All right, good.
It was so dangerous. It was
Yeah.
like I stopped weighing myself in like August, and I didn't weigh myself until October 1st. And I haven't weighed myself since October 1st. And I can notice in myself, so I weighed myself October 1st. It is only the 4th. And every day since the 1st, I'm like, I could just pull it down real quick. No big deal. Just, my husband's not home. He won't even know because he knows I have a problem. And I'm like, I'll just pull it down, weigh myself real quick, just hear the beep, and then just put it back up there.
Oh my God,
like,
you're addicted.
yes, and it's a problem. It's so, it's not okay. And so of course I don't do it because I'm like, I'm just, encouraging my own behavior. And so I study psychology, and
That's right. You're getting a PhD, right? So you're
right.
super smart and you understand the brain and how
Exactly.
this stuff happens.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, these maladaptive behaviors. So I'm like, I just gotta distract myself. I gotta deflect. I gotta like just turn away. And so that's what I do because I realize in myself. I also actually in undergrad I minored in addictive disorders and recovery studies, so I also know a little bit about addiction. And I'm just like,
Okay.
oh, I am so, and I'm the kind of person, I do have like an addictive personality where I get into something or I get really into anything and I'm just all in. And keto is one of those things as well, whereas like as soon as I decided this was it, this was it. There was nothing else that I wanted to do. And so and sometimes it's a good thing. And then other times it's not a good thing. And I have the insight to recognize that in myself. And I just try to avoid those things. And I just distract. And I would say
what I love about keto is that I feel like, a lot of what we think about as addiction is, there's a physical, biological component, and then there's a mental component.
Yeah.
And, so often we beat ourselves up and we're like, oh, my mom did this. Wasn't raised right. This happened. And, and I am so bad and I can't control, my sweets and all of that. But a lot of it, when I hear people saying this stuff, I'm kind of like, you didn't eat, you didn't have any protein, you went all day, and then at 4 o'clock you decide you're gonna, take down the chicken to defrost from the freezer and cook a healthy dinner. And while you're standing there waiting, you devoured and destroyed a bag of Oreos. Like, that's a biological problem. That is not a moral or an ethical or a character problem. But and I loved that with keto, I was able to actually fix the biological problems. And then there wasn't so much of that other stuff. So occasionally, yes, I do, eat emotionally, or I do cope with my emotions using food, but it's not nearly as pervasive as I thought it was before I dealt with the food problem.
And I would say, just because I stick to keto does not mean I do not overeat, because I do. I still have that, the kind of like that binging issue, and I say that carefully, that issue where I get upset and I'm just like, I'll just eat a couple triple cheeseburgers, no big deal. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. But sometimes I just do, and some days are just like that.
Sometimes I want to do it, but my stomach has shrunk such that there just simply isn't room.
Yeah.
And I know I feel kind of like, man, I would really like to devour all of this, but I can't anymore.
And sometimes I can think that way and be like, it's fine. Other times I'm just like, I don't care. I'm just going to do it anyway. So, I mean, there's still room to grow. And like, keto does help with some things, but I mean, it takes time to change your mindset about food and how you think about food, whether it's keto friendly food or not. Because it can just be overdone, and it takes a while. And I think that is another thing. Like, sometimes overeating is just a thing. I do that, and it's not the best, and I try not to. I really, really try not to, and other times it just happens. And fasting was hard for me in that, because like if I would do OMAD, or if I did 18-6 or whatever, 23-1, it was like kind of helping me do that. It was like, I'm just going to eat a bunch, and it's okay because I'm not going to eat for the next 20 hours. And it's like, well, no, it's not okay. So kind of still realizing when seemingly healthy things are being done in an unhealthy way is like still an important part of what I do, or kind of look at in myself. So I think, 150, that's super great. And then I also think, you got to stop doing this thing, because you still do this like really bad thing. So I don't know.
But I think it's good to be patient with yourself. I mean, again, we come back to patience. Like, it's, this is a lifelong journey, and you had, I don't know how old you are, but however many years of, certain type of behavior around food.
Yeah.
And it may take that many years to replace it. And so you're in the early days, you're doing a lot of change, and you have made immense progress. So, there might be some slip slides. And I will tell you, as a person, so now I'm in my, I guess in my 4th year, coming up on the end of my, end of my 5th year of keto. And there's definitely things that I don't do now that I used to do. And I think part of my interest in carnivore is just sort of losing interest in replacing and substituting those foods that I used to eat before. So things will change and evolve, and I'm excited and interested to see where you'll be in 5 years, what that'll look like for you.
It's exciting. Yeah. And that's something that I try to do as well, to just gain some perspective. So I'm 22 and I've got time.
48.
Like there's time, like nothing has to happen today. And I try to keep my mind focused on my why, which is mostly, in the future, I want children, and I want to like not be an inactive parent, and I had a very inactive childhood. And so it was like, I just want to be the exact opposite for my kids. And so that's a very long-term goal, because I am in school right now, not planning to have kids for like another 10 years or so. So it's not anything that has to happen tomorrow. And so I have to tell myself that, because I always want everything to happen right now. And I'm like, I'm always go, go, go. And sometimes my body is just like, no, we're not going to go. We're just going to sit right here. And so
yeah,
it's really frustrating.
yeah. So let's see. Rome's Journey says my kryptonite is a Rebel ice cream. So yeah.
So my husband has a really horrible sweet tooth, and he loves Rebel. He loves all kinds of ice cream, and gets really upset anytime I say, oh, we're going to get ice cream, and like change my mind. He's like, that's not okay. You can't do that to me. Like, he really, really likes ice cream. I never really had a huge sweet tooth, so take it or leave it. I mean, I like it, but I mean, it's not really a huge thing for me. So
yeah. Well, that's good. I have a huge sweet tooth.
yeah,
That's always been my challenge. Let's see. Weight Watcher Gone Keto says lifestyle for sure. The difference between one who does keto to lose weight versus keto for health. At 61, keto is for health for her.
Yeah.
And she says weight loss is a bonus. And let's see. Keto Shaw says she has to go. And can we save this live? Yes, for sure. I keep messing it up when I'm getting it off of the Instagram, but I'm going to get this right this time. I'm going to save it, and I will post it on, I guess, on IGTV and on Instagram, and I will probably also turn it into a video and post it on my YouTube channel, which is called Healthy Keto Living with A-Day. Yeah. So I hope that you all will check it out there. And someone asked about what electrolytes you use now.
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. That was just, I wish I could remember the brand. I have no idea, because I ordered them like a year and a half ago. So,
well, don't worry about it. I'm sure there's lots of different brands.
Yeah, there are probably 10,000 more now.
So do you take salt, or what do you do about salt or electrolytes now?
I should be better about it. I like just salt. I should be better. Like, I know some people take supplements, but I'm doing more of a carnivore diet now, kind of more of a dirty carnivore. But, so I just, from meat and salt, I don't really think about it, which may not be great. But I feel pretty good. So I think my electrolytes are fine because my energy is fine, but I don't mindfully watch it, which...
Well, I mean, as long as you're feeling fine, I mean, you're obviously getting what you need.
Yeah.
And then when you don't get what you need and you start to feel bad, now you know what to do.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that early on when I was doing keto, I every afternoon, like, I would have to go and get salty nuts. And now in retrospect, I thought I was like, having a carb thing. But now in retrospect, I think I was actually having an electrolyte problem. Oh, wow. And what I should have been doing was just having more salt. But, you live and you learn. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Just like over time, you're just like, oh, that's what that is. I find with keto, every couple of months, I realize, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
Good to know. And then I just kind of move on from there.
Yeah. Well, people are starting to check out. Corey P, thanks for being here. Sorry you have to run, but yes, I'm going to repost this. Anybody who's still here, if you have questions, let's put them out here and let's answer some questions.
Yeah.
You're really fascinating, Georgina, though. I'm so glad we had the time to have this conversation.
Thank you. I should not be so bad at taking like compliments, but I am. But I am. I'm just like, oh, people care about what I'm doing. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, sometimes, I mean, early on in my journey, I was a little bit shy about like posting my pictures and stuff like that. But I realized, especially when I started posting those pictures of me in my shrinking or my dresses that were growing too big, I realized that there were so many people that were inspired by what they saw from me. And early on, I did a lot, I would search for like transformation pictures and things to do with keto so that I could see people losing weight. and believe that it was something that could happen for me. And so I realized, and I never said anything to those people. There are people out there walking around who have such meaning for me, and they have no idea who I am. So, later on, I decided it really is time to tell people, how they inspire you. And then I know that my story has to be shared as well, because I don't know who out there will be inspired by the things that I say. And that's why I want to get our stories out there. And I wanted to hear from you.
I love that.
You have no idea who is inspired by you.
That's true. And and so the only people that I usually hear from are like people that I see every day. And so some of them come on my Instagram and like see it, or some of them like don't, because I guess it's linked to like my personal one, or like if they're friends with me on my personal Instagram, this one will come up, and they're just like, I didn't realize that you were doing this. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Like I'm more open on here than I am with people in my like real everyday life. But sometimes they come up to me and I'm just like, this is weird. I didn't know that you knew this was happening in my life. Like, because I feel like people on here know a lot more about me and who I am than people that I see every day. Like, people on here have a more in-depth look at like how overthinky I can be sometimes, or just like how insecure or anxious I can be. So it's like a real vulnerable place, which I have no problem with. But when people in my everyday life see it, I'm just like, all right, feel free to not look at that. That's okay. If you just never, ever pull that up. Or like people follow me and I'm just like, okay, like, I guess that's fine. And I would never make it private. So, I mean, it just happens and I roll with it and try to be more comfortable with kind of being out there. And the most so random times people that I see will be like, you've been doing a diet thing, because they can see like it's like they've known me for at least a year and they like see that I've clearly changed, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Or like people know that I'm keto because they'll be like, oh, let's go eat here, and I'm like, no, I don't. But I don't talk about like, and I've lost 150 pounds. So when it like comes out, or people find out in weird ways that I didn't tell them, and they come up to me and I'm just like, oh, yep, that's the thing. Yep, true. So,
let's see, Lucci asks, what's the best way to transition from keto to carnivore? Well, I would say, from my perspective, just dive right in.
Yeah.
Just there's no transition. But I would say, people, I mean, Americans in general, we're very scared about, having enough fat. And even though I'm a fat lover, in the beginning, I still wasn't eating as much fat as I needed to. And so I really had to wrap my mind around fat is the base. Everything else is sort of a condiment. But once I did, it's like, wow, you have no idea how good you can feel.
I would say yes to all of that. And then also, first of all, figure out why you're going carnivore. Like, what's the point? Is it like a health thing? Which typically that's what it would be. And then whatever you were doing on keto, if you were like tracking your weight or measurements, kind of put that on hold for a little bit. If you like have a really strong workout schedule, I'd also put that on hold, because it's still an adjustment. And then just dive in, or take it slow. And like, if you really like avocados, then just eat avocados and meat, and slowly just come out and just, I don't know. I don't
know that carnivore brings a further weight loss benefit. I feel like the benefits I got from carnivore had nothing to do with further ketosis. It really had to do with removing things that I am irritated by, which is, brings eventually is helpful in terms of weight loss, because you stop, irritating your body, so your body can do weight loss easier. But it's not, carnivore didn't necessarily bring greater weight loss. But health-wise, if you have any kind of autoimmune disease, this hands down is going to make a huge, huge difference.
Yeah, see, for me, it was like, so I had thought about carnivore before in the times where like my weight loss got really weird with keto, and I flirted with it a little bit. And then towards the end of the summer, it was like oxalates hit the stage, and everybody was like, y'all got to stop eating these things. And I was like, oh my gosh, you can still be keto and just pouring the oxalates in, just every almond, just all of it. And so hearing that, and then I can't remember, I think it was like Nutrition with Judy. She had a YouTube video with someone talking about oxalates, and it was a whole thing. And there was something even about like, and people talk about carnivore helping with like anxiety and depression and stuff like that, which I struggle with. And then there was also a piece about some neurological things, like when you're like with the chemicals in your brain, like helping neurological things. And so my husband has Tourette syndrome. And so we were like, we don't know, and we are not going to say that carnivore would in any way help your tics. But I don't know. Like, let's just see. Does it make it better? Does it make them hurt less? You know, is your like arthritis, is the soreness not as bad? And so it was kind of like coming from that idea, and also anxiety, depression, that kind of stuff. Just
so he's experimenting with it now?
Yeah, so that's the whole reason why we've done like a carnivore thing, is more because of that and less because of like we stalled on keto and we just wanted to do something a little more intense. It was more like, no, we've got some other like non-weight related health issues or concerns that like, let's see if it helps at all. So
do you know yet, or are you still, experimenting with it?
Still experimenting. We'll see. And I mean, right now, we're so dirty carnivore. Like, we still have sauces, still have seasonings. We're not ready yet, but slowly but surely coming along. And I feel great. Like, my sleep, fantastic, is wonderful. So that's good. But for reasons that I think are separate from carnivore, I have been feeling a lot more anxiety, but my workout schedule is terrible. So, I don't know. We're still in the transition, but we're hopeful. It feels good. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's, you have all the time. You're young, so just experiment and see how it goes.
Exactly.
Wow. So we're coming up on the hour. I think Instagram will knock us off. So we've got like 6 minutes left. So, yeah, I know. I could do this for hours. But let's try to get another question or two in. So I see Rome's Journey asks, if you do carnivore, how do you get your fats?
Eat red meat.
Yeah. Eat fatty sources of meat.
Yeah.
And I actually ordered some from White Oak Pastures. It's one of these, very fancy farms where, the cows are sung to at night and unicorns cry into the
right.
Yeah, so it's very beautiful stuff. And so I ordered that from there because, frankly, I live in New York City. Anywhere I go, I mean, everything is so lean. And I'm like, please, just give me the fattiest thing. And they're like, what? I don't even know what that means. I can't do that. So I basically have had to buy it because it just doesn't exist anywhere.
So I found a farm to home place because people apparently buy cows, like, or half a cow, or like all the meat bones.
I know, I'm like, you're in Texas. What are you talking about? Isn't
right.
there a cow down the street?
Right, yeah. Like, so my in-laws went to Louisiana and bought half a calf a few months ago. We were like, oh, that's a thing people do, apparently. And so, I was like, maybe there's a place near Houston where people could buy half a cow. And so we found this grass-fed place or whatever, this farm. And they have like a farmer's market like an hour from my house. And so we were just buying some grass-fed stuff from there. I found huge things of bone marrow at Whole Foods. Don't know how to cook them yet, but I'm going to figure it out. So,
oh my God, they're delicious.
I know. I saw you talking about them.
Yeah. So easy. Just stick them in the oven. It doesn't require anything. And they're so good.
See,
and I even put them in the air fryer. Fantastic.
See, I mean, I think living in the South is very great because fat's just a thing. No one's worried about fat in the South. It's all the people that moved down here.
Stuff tastes better with it. You can't have good soul food
right.
without fat.
You need butter, okay? Yeah. You need oil. You need it. So, I mean, fat's just a part of it down here. It's not really, but yeah, red meat.
Yeah.
Red meat is what I would
say. I went to a barbecue place last week with a whole bunch of other carnivores, actually.
Oh, wow.
And, well, the New Yorkers, we've tried to, get together and sort of stay tight. But we went to a barbecue place, and you could choose between fatty brisket or lean brisket. So, of course, we all got the fatty brisket. And I'm like, what is the fat? It's just just this tiny little bit. You brought me the lean, and they're like, no, this is the fatty.
So it's so funny you mentioned that because we went to the grocery store, I think last night, and you past these huge freezers of things on sale, and it's just a freezer full of brisket, and you turn them over, it's got like fat this thick on the back, and it's like wonderful. Like, yes, God bless Texas. This is wonderful because there's fat everywhere. Yeah. Down here, there's fat everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad. Not too bad here. But I mean, I suppose if you're in an area that's more difficult, I guess like a butcher, right, would keep fat pieces for you. So
yeah. Well, that is my job. I need to actually go to the butchers and start making friends and actually do this stuff, but I haven't done that yet. So yeah.
With time.
So, well, anyway, I guess it's time to wrap up. What's coming next for you? People want to hear more from you. You know, your Instagram channel, a YouTube channel, more videos. Can we do this again?
We can absolutely do this again. Grad school takes up about 95% of my time. So I haven't really thought of like expanding my account to be like, I mean, I've thought about IGTV, but I just don't know what I would say yet. Or, you know, like a YouTube channel. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the future. But right now I'm just like trying to make it through graduate school.
Mm-hmm. So people can find you on Instagram at Georgina.
Keto.
Okay.
Which I change every few months, but it's Georgina on keto right now with like dots in the middle.
Okay. All right. So that's where they can follow you, and you can all find this video on probably in my stories, and also I'm going to post it on YouTube. And this is a great conversation, and hopefully we get to do this again. And I'm actually going to do this again next week with Fasting Carnivore, who was here earlier and asked a question, because, you know, frankly, I want to hear all of our stories, and you know, and I think it's important to hear how people are making keto work for them and in their lives, because we're all different people, we have different priorities, and so we have different ways of doing this. And you know, when you read about the stuff online, you kind of feel like you got this cookie cutter thing. So I want to broaden it up and make this easy and accessible for all of our community.
Even college students who have no money, y'all. It works.
That is the most important community.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was great to talk to you, and I am going to talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.